Okay, let's talk about something so many of us struggle with: weight loss. It can really feel like you're in it all alone, right? Well, what if you didn't have to be? Today, we're going to break down 5 key signs that it might be time to bring in some medical support for your journey.
So does this sound familiar at all? You lose the same 20 pounds over and over again. You put in all that work, you see the number on the scale finally go down, and then, boom, somehow those pounds just creep right back. It's this super frustrating cycle, and it can leave you feeling completely stuck. If that's you, I just want you to know you are definitely not alone in this.
You know that frustrating cycle we were just talking about? It's actually part of a much bigger picture. And that picture is really defined by this number, 40%. So what in the world does that stand for?
Well, it means that over 40% of adults, right here in the US, are considered obese. And what's really important to know is that this number is actually going up. So this isn't just some random statistic, It's a real public health trend, and it's why having this conversation is more important now than ever before.
Okay, so when we say overweight or obese, what do we actually mean? Well, a lot of the time, medical pros use something called the body mass index, or BMI. And this chart here breaks it down really simply. The overweight category kicks in at a BMI of 25, and obese is 30 or higher. We're going to be using these terms, so it's good to have them straight. All right, let's dive into our first big indicator. This one starts by just taking a look at your current health. See, if you're already dealing with other health conditions, your weight might be playing a much bigger part in all of that than you realize.
And that actually brings us to a really important medical term: comorbidity. It sounds complicated, but it's not. It just means having more than one disease or condition at the exact same time. And it turns out, in a lot of chronic health situations, obesity is a really common comorbidity. It kind of hangs out alongside other issues, and honestly, it often makes them more complicated.
Okay, so what can you do? Well, for things like heart disease or diabetes, losing weight can be a huge deal. It can stop them from getting worse. And get this, for something like sleep apnea, sometimes losing weight can reduce the symptoms or even make them go away completely. It's an incredibly powerful way to take charge of your overall health.
All right, our second indicator shifts gears a little. We're moving from what's happening right now to what could happen down the road. This isn't about the health problems you already have, it's about the ones you might be heading toward. It's all about getting ahead of the curve.
So, if you've been to the doctor lately and heard words like prediabetes, high blood pressure, or high cholesterol, think of those as your body's early warning system. They're like little alarms going off. And taking action right now, especially with weight loss, can be one of the best things you can do to keep those warnings from turning into something more serious.
Indicator number 3 brings us back to that BMI chart we looked at. Now, it can be really easy to kind of shrug off being in that overweight category, but the research is pretty clear. This is a critical tipping point. Once you're in that zone, the chances of moving into the obese category go up a lot.
Okay, our fourth sign. This one isn't just about the physical stuff. We're talking about the mental and emotional side of things now. This is for anyone out there who is just plain exhausted, tired of trying and feeling like you're failing only to have to start all over again.
And this is what that cycle of frustration looks like, right? You start a diet, you're full of hope, you actually lose some weight, but then life happens. The weight comes back, and that feeling of frustration just crushes you, making it even harder to try again. It's this tough, demoralizing loop that, believe me, so many people are stuck in.
Really, it all just boils down to this, doesn't it? It's such a frustrating situation. And just recognizing that this isn't some kind of personal failure, that it's something lots of people go through, that's a huge first step to finding a better way forward.
So if that old way is just a frustrating cycle, what does a new path look like? Well, our fifth and final sign is really all about the solution. It's about shifting from that lonely struggle to a supportive, team-based approach. Seriously, if the idea of having experts in your corner makes you feel a sense of relief, that's a really powerful sign right there.
And here's the key difference between the two approaches. Think about it. A typical diet just gives you a list of rules, usually for the short term, right? A medical program, on the other hand, is all about building something that lasts. It's about developing habits, building real skills, and getting the tools you need for life.
So what this really means is that the whole goal changes. It stops being about hitting a certain number on the scale. Instead, it becomes about building a solid foundation for real, permanent change. A healthier lifestyle that you can actually stick with for the long haul.
So we're going to leave you with this one last thought to chew on. Maybe the question we should be asking isn't, why can't I do this by myself? Maybe the better question is, what could you achieve if you didn't have to do it alone? Just take a second and imagine what a supportive, expert team could help you unlock for your health journey. Thanks so much for joining us.